You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Rhadi. This episode of Coffee with Rhadi has been brought to you by Judo is Life. It's a book that I wrote. You can find it at www.judoislife.net. Now, I finished my coffee this morning, but I was mentally stewing and ruminating on some issues that I have going on personally, that I have going on socially, that I see in my dojo, and per some conversations that I've had during homecoming. There are a lot of individuals right now who feel like they're in a place where they're confused about where their life is going. They're confused about the forward projection of their career. They're confused about the relationship that they're in. They don't know exactly what their purpose in life is. They cannot clearly see where they want to be in that 5, 10, 15, 20-year futuring exercise. And this causes a level of what people have a level of anxiety. I also feel that there's so much comparison, and I think that comparison sometimes is the thief of joy. So much comparison that goes on because of social media, of people looking at TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and comparing themselves against other people in terms of what they do, what they have, and how they look. I also feel that the eyes and the stomach are never satisfied, and that what you see, you actually want. And I believe people go through an exercise of daily coveting, even though they don't believe that they're doing so. And what I found is that this occurs more often than not when people are in what's called the pursuit of happiness. Now, I've done my best to look through the Bible about merry, happiness, and gladness. I looked at the words merry, happiness, and gladness, and joy. And what I found is that we're looking at the King James Version. The word happy was only in the Bible one time. It was in Proverbs 16th chapter and the 20th verse. And I don't want to get too churchy or too biblical. However, I do like to reference that particular book because that's the undergirding for the wisdom that I've acquired over the years and the understanding upon which that wisdom sits upon. When people are going through things in life, what I've found is they rely on a belief system, a conceptual framework, something that kind of holds them together when things are falling apart. In the dojo, I have a quote on the wall that says, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. And the reason why I have that is because, and it's a quote by Marcus Aurelius, because I want the children to understand that anything that you're going through is just an estimate of the real thing. Like when you are presented with something or you're just distressed with something, all right, the pain in and of itself, how bad you feel, is due to your personal estimation of how bad things are going on. And that you have the power to revoke at any moment. I was outside. I think I broke my big toe on my right foot. Cracked, hurt really, really bad. I have a sled, and the sled came back on my toe and kicked my toe up with 3 plates on it. Had sled in itself was about 150, and then 3 plates, 90 plus another 45, 250, 40, about 285 pounds. Hit my toe. When it hit my toe, I just put my head down And I began to pray. I didn't say anything. I didn't cuss. I didn't holler. I didn't scream. I just pursed my lips together and gritted my teeth. And then I had to just breathe, pray, and deal with it. And the person I was with at the time, she said, "What happened?" I told her I hurt my toe. She said, "Man, you handled that very, very well." Well, I am the beautiful thing about the martial arts experience and being in combat sports is that you get used to being in tough and hard situations and dealing with those situations, understanding this. My panicking in the situation is not going to help the situation resolve itself. The anxiety that I have is not going to help the situation resolve itself. I am not saying that anxiety is not a real thing. I understand anxiety is a real thing. I also understand depression is a real thing. I also understand the the cognitive, affective, emotional, and physical uh, experience of the titration method, where we provide a little bit over a little period of time until we get used to it, and then we keep going on and we keep moving on. In psychology, it's called the process of desensitization. We do this in the dojo all the time. You 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 do more, feels like you can't handle it, and then we stay at that particular level, and then when you can bear that, then we do a little bit more. So you're always in a constant state of being uncomfortable, and you never recognize that that you're getting better, because that level of discomfort is always there for you, but you don't see how you have advanced until we remove that discomfort. Well, life isn't concerned with your training process or your training progress. Life will give you what it gives you when it gives it to you. And in order for you to handle the difficult experiences from life, it is almost important or incumbent upon you to put yourself in difficult situations so that you know, or you'll be better prepared to handle those difficult situations when they're presented in life. Now, that means that you can't pursue happiness all the time. You can't always do what makes you happy. You can't always do what you like to do. You can't feel good all the time. I would love to feel good all the time. I don't feel good all the time. And my feeling good has nothing to do with my internal joy. Excuse me. Let me say this. Joy is a spiritual concept where it has nothing to do with me being happy or with me being sad. The joy is based upon fulfillment. And I was having this conversation with Sinclair Skinner a while ago, maybe about a month ago, where he was really driving home the point of gratitude and how he goes through this gratitude exercise, not just in the morning, but daily. And his exercising of gratitude builds up his joy account. So he understands that I have a personal decision on whether I'm happy or not, or how I feel, based upon the amount of gratitude that I kick out during the day that increases my joy, that then will allow me to be happy. I, I enjoy the poems and the scriptures and the mantras that I've learned and I've adopted over time. Whether you grew up in the church or you didn't grow up in the church, it wasn't until the ripe age of 47, which I am right now, that I really understood, after I've been saying it for years, this is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, this particular day, is the day that the Lord has made. The Lord made this particular day. He didn't make the day good. He didn't make the day bad. He made the day. You have a personal decision of how you would like to address the day. You have to give yourself the mandate that I will rejoice and I will be glad in it. If the day is full of dung, if the day is a horrible day, if the day has death and dying in it, if the day has births in it, if the day has seeds in it, if the day has fruit in it, whatever the day has in it, you have to make a personal decision. I will rejoice and I will be glad in it. That's a personal decision that you make. Now, I've gone over this before in many of my speeches and talks, but I will say it again. When we look at the word decision, de meaning from or of, from the Latin, all right? And then cis meaning cut or kill. You have to make a decision. What am I going to cut myself off from in order to rejoice, in order to be glad? What am I going to cut myself off from? This is what you cut yourself off from. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. My Aunt Ethel, God rest her soul, used to say, man, you having a bad day because you have stinking thinking. If your thinking is bad, then your day is bad. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, to the way that you think about it. And this, you have the power to revoke. You have the decision that you can make to cut yourself off, to go through the process of revocation of how you estimate that thing at any moment. You have been given that particular power. You can say it's by God, you can say it's by Buddha, you can say whoever you want to say it's by, you can say it's by the universe, but you have been given the power to make decisions in life, not just choices, but decisions. There are certain times in the Bible where it says, separate yourself from them, come out amongst from them. You have to be a peculiar people. Remove yourself from that. Why? I got to remove myself from that particular group, not because they are who they are, but it's because they think the way that they think. Yeah, but I don't know what to think. That's when you go back. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your what? Path. I'm not trying to be preachy to people. What I'm trying to tell you is this. No matter what you believe, okay, your your affirmations, your self-talk, your all those things become spiritual and esoteric masturbation. Whether they feel good, but the yield is zero because it has no undergirding. It has no belief system to it. You can't just say what you say. You have to say what you say and believe what you say. But when you believe what you say, you got to ask yourself, why do I believe that which I'm saying? Because I know at the end of the day, man, I look to the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Therefore, when I say this is the day that the Lord hath made, then I know the person who I'm looking for help from is the person who created the thing, who can help me do the thing that I'm trying to do. Why? Because when I get the game of life, I'm going to the person who wrote the instruction manual for how to play the game. So when I'm stuck in the game, I grab the instruction manual, I peel through the pages of the manual, I say, oh, this is what I do. I move 2 steps forward, move to the side, take the elevator down, come up, move to your left, stop, wait, I say, and then you govern yourself as you need to govern yourself. I think that being spiritually barren is a great problem in today's society because it's very difficult to bring forth any fruit if you're spiritually barren. When I was going through the process of my divorce, I had a psychologist out of Mississippi that I used to talk to, Dr. Hudson. And I had to read a book. I don't remember exactly the name of the book, but I had to read a book, and I had exercises every day where I had to write down the fruits of the spirit. And I can't tell you how many times, and I told my kid's godmother this, one of my best friend on the woman's side, Kay Roan, I told her I can't tell you how many times that when I was writing down the fruits of the spirit, I could not remember kindness. Could not remember kindness. And I think, I mean, if you ask me to estimate, who I am, I think I'm a pretty nice dude, but when I look at it, I said, there's a level of hardness that I've developed through sport over time, um, in my parenting process that I got from my parents, that created a thing that I had to be for a period of time that I don't necessarily need in my regular day-to-day life, or I need to learn how to shut it off. And I didn't realize I was having a problem with that until I was required to write down the fruits of the spirit over and over again, over and over again. I was not every time. Kindness. I left it out. And I had to accept that there was a level of barrenness that I was having in that area, that I could not, if I couldn't plant the seed of kindness more and purposefully, then I wasn't going to be able to yield the fruit for what kindness provides. And even to this day, I have to ask myself, man, was that kind? Was it kind? What you did, was it kind? Or was it kind? And sometimes I said, man, I say no. Because listen, I am, Jesus, I am far from perfect. Let me explain and tell you, on the scale on perfect, I am far from, I'm nowhere close. All right. I'm listen, I'm teetering on I'm trying to get the good. I'm just right around fair. All right. I'm trying to get the good. Far from perfect. And I would tell people, and I told somebody this during homecoming. Like I had to do something that Brother Ransom Miller charged me with doing. I didn't want to do it, and I was honest with him. I said, "Hey man, I'm having a problem doing it." I said, "My ego's getting in the way. I don't want to do it." He said, "I know your ego's getting in the way." And I said, "Yeah, dog. Same thing that made me good make me bad, and it's the truth. The things that make me good in the areas in which I'm good also make me very bad in the areas that I would love to improve." And it's a constant work in process and in progress. But the question is, how do we do the work? Well, you got to do the work by going back and reading the manual. And some of you have a manual and some of you don't. And it's okay if you don't have a manual, but you're going to have to find a manual to go back to. Personally, my manual, I'm not telling you what your manual has to be. Personally, my manual is the Bible. I go back and I read. I make sure that I continue to pour into my conceptual framework or my belief system, because that's how I see the world. My conceptual framework is how I see the world. I want to see the world a certain way. That particular way in which I see the world, some people agree with, some people do not agree with. But I have to have my own belief system, my own conceptual framework. Then I have to create my own personal constitution that I'm going to live by. And then somebody else, they got to create theirs. What happens in the social and political space when you see someone who's a libertarian or someone who is a Democrat or someone who's a Republican or some, they can all look at the same. They can look at the same problem or the same issue or the same cup of water, wearing different lenses, wearing different conceptual framework, and all see something different. Every conceptual framework, to be able to have some type of agreement, has to have some type of tolerance in it, so that, and when I mean tolerance, I mean on the engineering, on the scientific level, and I mean tolerance from an affective or and a psychological level as well. There has to be some type of tolerance. You got to be able to tolerate. You got to be able to open up just a little bit, not so much so that you can't function, or your thought processes don't fit within your framework, but open it up a little bit so that you can get some overlapping with somebody else. Otherwise, we can't find any common ground to meet on. If there's a cup in the middle of the floor, the the Republican may see the cup in the middle of the floor and say, um, somebody's asking for a handout. And the Democrat might see the cup in the middle of the floor and be like, well, that cup has a hole in the top, but it doesn't have a hole in the bottom. That cup is homophobic. And the Libertarian might see the cup on the floor and say, there should be two cups there, because one cup is not enough. But all of them see something. The question is, can we all agree that we see a cup? And if we can all agree that we see a cup, then we can work on what to do from there. The problem with the thought process of many people is that you can't get spiritual agreement for yourself. When you're having a problem and there's nobody there, it's just you, the question is this the day that the Lord hath made? Before I go any further, can I get personal agreement with that by myself? Is this the day that was made by God? Did God provide this particular day? Yes or no? If you can get agreement, yes, then if God provided that day, what does that mean to me and for me? And how can he work through me? If you can get that part down, if you can get agreement on that, no matter if I don't feel good today, I'm sick today, I have family members who are dealing with health issues and struggles that nobody wants on their plate. Um, it, but if you can agree that this is the day that the Lord hath made, and if you can't agree with that, and you don't agree, just say I don't. If you say I don't believe in God, boom, got it. I believe in science. Great. This is the day that was physically and metaphysically made. Boom. Okay. Well, it's physically made. What are you going to do with the gift of the day provided? I don't believe it's a gift. I just believe it's another day. Cool. What is a day? A day by definition is about 23 hours and 59 minutes, give or take. Okay, great. 24 hours. In that 24-hour day, what would you like to do? I don't feel. No, 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 no. I didn't ask you how you felt. In the 24-hour day, what would you like to do? What are you going to decide to do? Well, I can't just do whatever I want to do. I didn't ask you that. I asked you, what are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, you got to make a decision. You got to decide to cut something off. You have to cut off the negative thinking. You have to, if you want to have a better day, you're gonna have to cut off the negative thinking. What does the Bible say? The Bible says, "As a man thinketh, so is he." What is Philippians 4:8? Whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. That's why it even gives you the mandate to pray without ceasing. Why? Because you have to constantly think on good things. And as your mind is constantly thinking on good things, then it's not that good things are going to happen, because sometimes bad things will happen categorically. There will be good and there will be bad. There will be times when you feel like, man, the world is against me. At that particular time, you're going to have to decide how you want to respond. I am not man, I'm 5'8", 247 pounds. I can get in the weight room. I'm pretty strong. I got a really high threshold for pain. Uh, I can push stuff and pull stuff that other people can't do. Um, I'll tell you this, I'm no different than you. When I have really, really bad days, or I'm having a tough time with my kids, I walk into my room like I'm cool. I close the door and I lock it, and I flop myself into my pillow and I holler, scream, and cry, just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. I don't do it all the time, but I'm good. Listen, I'm good for about 3 times a year, at least. I won't go above 5, but I'm good for 3 times a year, because life gets overwhelming. I'm just like you. You pull up to the driveway in your car at night. You done put the hands on 10 and 2, and you put your head into the steering wheel and you just put your head down, and then you just start praying and crying. That's right. And then you get yourself together. You wipe your face. Boom, and then you go in the house. I'm no different than you. What I'm telling you is that I I'm watching I'm watching my friends, I'm watching people online, and I'm seeing what's going on, and there is there's a scraping and a scrambling for the acquisition of things. There's a scraping and a scrambling for the attainment of accolades. There's a scraping and a scrambling for more followers and more likes, and there's a scraping and a scrambling for um, outside adornment and appreciation. There's a scraping and a scrambling for everything except for the one thing that you need to be scraping and scrambling for: Jesus. Now, to the people who are listening, it's okay if you don't agree. I'm not here to force myself on anybody. You can put something else in that place to so that you're not offended. There's a charge that I have to keep when I provide my particular messaging. And if you heard me speak over the years, you know I got a potty mouth sometimes. You know I'm raw and uncut. You know that I have my own personal struggles. You know that I've gone through a divorce. You know that I go through my co-parenting issues. You know that I believe in leading with love. You know that in my messages, when I love you, but God loves you best. You know that I've gone to the Olympics. You know that I went to a historically black college. You know that my children do martial arts. My son plays football. And like, you know a lot about me and about my personal life. And with all those things that you also have to know that at the end of the day, Rhadi Ferguson has a quality relationship with Jesus Christ, which allows me to handle a lot more than a lot of people can handle. It's not because I got some type of superpower or anything like that. It's because greater is he who is within me than he who is in the world. And that's it. the stuff that I have inside of me that has been poured into me, that I continue to cultivate and refine, allows me to do the things that I do even when I don't feel like doing them anymore. So I understand that obedience is better than sacrifice. It's better to be obedient and do what I'm supposed to do right now than not do it and have to sacrifice. In Spanish, el trabajo de vago noble, the work of the lazy devils. Why? Because obedience is better than sacrifice. I'm going to leave you with this today. Stop focusing on happiness. I know people say, you're responsible for your own happiness. Stop focusing on happiness and do a deep dive on joy and gladness. Do a deep dive on joy and gladness. Stop focusing on happiness. And some days you can be happy and some days you're not. And you can't allow your happiness or lack thereof to be the governor of how you're going to govern yourself. You just can't. You're not going to feel good all the time. And I think that's the one beautiful thing that I got from combat sports. Is, man, not only you're not going to feel good, you're going to feel downright miserable and still have to function at a high level and enjoy functioning at that level and watch yourself. Okay, watch yourself be successful while you didn't necessarily feel good, so that you know you can do things when you don't necessarily feel good. And then as you do them, then you actually feel better. Sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do so that you feel better at doing it. Do a deep dive on joy, and don't get caught in the happiness lie. So I've seen so many people. I've heard so many people get divorced because they say I just wasn't happy. I'm not supposed to be miserable for the rest of my life. Hmm, possibly, possibly, it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Why is it possible? It's kind of like the deal you cut. Like when you got up there and you cut the deal, you cut the love deal. Like the 13th chapter of Corinthians talks about love. It talks about patience. It talks about kindness. It talks about long suffering. It doesn't talk about. It doesn't say happy. Mm-mm, no. Like love hurts so bad. Like when you're a parent, the worst thing that can happen is you could do what? Man, you could lose a child. Man, love hurts so bad that, man, it says God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Now, listen, it didn't say his only begotten daughter. Why? Because it wants you to go to the highest level that the world can think of things. Son carries my name, firstborn, only child. Yeah, yeah. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Gave him to die and to watch suffer and to bleed and holler and cry. And he was crying, and the kid, his kid, was crying out to him. Right, right. I think many of you have a misunderstanding of your relationship with your maker, who whether you believe in one or not, with your relationship with yourself, and then it affects your relationship with your friends, families, and others. You got to focus. Proverbs 16:20. Whoever trusts in the Lord, happy is He. Trusting in the Lord helps you become happy. When you get confused, what is it? Trust in the Lord with all in what? Heart. Lean not to your own what? Understanding. What do you do? What do you do first? Get wisdom. Why? It's the principal thing. But in all I get and get understanding. Where does understanding come from? It comes from trusting in the Lord. How do you trust in the Lord? Therein lies your work. Because if I want to have more joy, one way to do it is trust in the Lord. Another way is you might go see somebody. But the other way to do it is go trust in the Lord. That's the other way. And I will give you the Oprah Winfrey thing. Oprah said there are many ways. I don't believe there are many ways, but if you believe there are many ways, then go find the other way. Or there's a couple manuals. Just check out a manual. There's a couple manuals. I use the Bible. Some people use the Torah. Some people use the Quran. But there's a couple manuals. Couple manuals. That's what I have for you today. I would say study. Show thyself approved. I ain't gonna say the rest. I know my man Ransom listening to me say the rest. It's a good work, but I'm not gonna say the rest, Ransom. All right, but just study a little bit more. Study a little bit more. Read a little bit more, and do a deep dive on joy and gladness. And just remember, when you wake up in the morning, you have a decision to make. So tell yourself, this is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. So, Dr. Ferguson, have a super fantastic day. And remember, I love you. God loves you best.
You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, 4-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.